Hello, everybody. Drasco here from uplevelmind.com, where my main mission is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs who know all the business strategies realize their next revenue milestone by mastering what's between their ears. And for today's episode, we have a real talk segment where I bring in a heart-centered entrepreneur who isn't seeing the consistent, stable growth in their business. And then live on the call, I get to help them get out of their own way on one inner challenge that they're currently experiencing towards their next business upgrade. And for today's guest, we have Barb Ramirez, who is a Latina with big global dreams. She's always been an advocate of following your heart and passion. She's realized that at age 31, that was just a number and you get to start over again no matter what. So she ended up quitting to her corporate job, quit the burnout, and basically started looking for ways to launch a business from home in a more relaxed, stress-free way so that she would have more time for herself. And now she supports service-based business owners who are stuck in their current path by giving them the right systems, the right automation, and a team building tools. By working through all the layers of what building a meaningful business really means. So going into the clarity, the empowerment, the organization, that's how she helps with the current clients that she has. And basically she helps transform her clients by embodying more challenges, empathy, optimism in everything that they do. So Barb, thank you very much for being here. How are you today?
Hi, Drasco. Thank you for having me here. I'm great today. Thank you for
Very
asking.
good. Yeah, and I love, like, I know I just kind of read your intro, but there's so many things and so many synergies that I see with regards to how I approach my coaching with regards to not just looking at the surface level things, but kind of diving into it deeper. And in your instance, you explore that through systems, etc. So I'd love for you to just break down for us like how you got into doing that beyond the intro, what led you to move into automation and systematizing. So yeah, floor is
Yes.
yours to share your story.
Yes, I think I could say it's in my nature. I grew up seeing that from my parents. They are professors at universities. My mother is an engineer, so it's a very structured person for everything. And I grew up with that. I grew up having a system for household activities. For when I was in school and then when I was in college, I studied business administration, and my mind works in that way. Everything that I do has a process. I have a system for everything. And that is great. I made them flexible. People hear the word system and they think that if you say it's 3 steps, they need to be those 3 steps, and you need to make them very flexible and simple. And that's what I do. So you say 31, I'm like, in my mind, I'm realizing this year that that was 7 years ago when I quit my job. And I still cannot believe it. 7 years ago, being able to quit, being a woman in Latin America, that's like, why are you doing that? You're not going to have stability. And how are you going to do with your life? You're 31, you're getting older. It's very hard, believe me. I don't know how it's in the US, but it's very hard. And people, family, very close family were judging me because of that. Luckily, my husband is a very support partner, so I decided to go, okay, I want to do something from home because I was really exhausted for everything, overweight because of the stress you get. You eat bad, you gain weight, you don't feel great about yourself, and you need to feel great about yourself when you're going to work on something. And I really liked what I was doing. I love my career. So I start asking, okay, what can I do working from home, doing what I like, what I studied for so many years, but doing it in a different way? And that's how I got to see how to work remotely. That wasn't a thing 7 years ago here in Venezuela. So I started researching. I met with a few people that guide me through where to get started, and I really like it. And until today, I don't think I will ever change working from home in this way because I have met so many great people doing this, and I have worked with so good and bad clients, but I find both experiences really good uh, all these years that I've been doing it.
Beautiful. So it's like there's this, like it's typical in the people that I speak with in the sense that there's the sentiment that, okay, we have this thing that we don't like in like a corporate setting, and then we decide to make this change and go into doing it on our own. And then not only are we faced with like our own doubts about the decision, but then you have all this pressure from other people and expectations and shoulds and narratives, etc. So I just want to acknowledge you on like that is a very big jump to make, I think, regardless of where you're at. But yeah, I can see the pressures in a more cultural setting being like even higher than they are here. So A, I just want to commend you for that. And then B, so you transitioned into kind of following your natural strengths with regards to the systematizing and all of that. So explain to me a little bit more about your business right now. Like what is it exactly that you do? Who do you work with, etc.?
Okay, so when I decided to do that a couple of years after that, I understand and I see that I'm really good at what I do, because I also needed that awareness and people saying, yes, you are good at what you do because of the exhaustion in the work, and that you are not never that good. So I needed that. Then I decided to make it official. I had to register my company. That's what I did here. So I have my company registered. It's called My Virtual Partner. And at the beginning, the name was because I was like, okay, I'm going to be a virtual assistant, but I'm more than that. It's not just I learned after those years that it's not just being virtual assistant. I was a partner, and that's the name partner in the name of the business. I'm a partner of the people I work with, because they hire me at the beginning. I will do the complete audit of their operations, what you're doing, how are you working right now, what works for you and what is not working for you and why. And then from there, I will say, okay, from this initial picture of your business, of your operations, this is how you can do things better. And this is how I can help you on that. And from there, we will go to a second phase of the implementation. It takes a lot of time to do that, because it's not something that I will do it by myself alone. I will integrate people from the company, because I will train them how to manage all those systems. So it's not that I work on my own. I work with my clients, setting all that, and then I will train them. And from there, we'll have like a long-term relationship, because they will have more questions. Again, systems are flexible, so things can change. I've been working, for example, with a work management tool that is called Asana, and I have clients that I set up their Asana 3 years ago, and I'm still working with them because the tool itself had changed a lot, and that changes the initial workflow that I created. Maybe there are specific areas of the workflow that I need to update. So I will do it with them. Even though I train them, they will always have questions. Am I in the right place? And then I will guide them how to do that. So that's kind of the why behind the word partner in the name, because I seek for that. I seek for not just having a one-time client, but a really relationship with them, to help them in that process, because I know it's hard. I've been dealing with that myself. So I know when we're running a business, we need someone that is there with us, eh, even just to answer a simple question like, "Am I okay with this? Can I do this better?" Because sometimes we need guidance on that. So that's what we do.
Beautiful. And I love that sentiment of a partner, because really such a big fear of so many entrepreneurs that are at a stage where it makes sense for them to outsource and systematize and build a team and operations and SOPs, et cetera, et cetera. It's like that fear of control is always there. If I let it go, if I give it to somebody else, they're going to screw it up. So, I don't really win. And so much like they hold themselves back so often from not wanting to let go of that control. And the fact
Yeah.
that you're going into it, not I don't know if it's conscious or not, but like I'm getting the sense that like you wanted to operate as a partner because you want to really see them succeed in the business. It's like it's naturally woven into what you do, that like, no, I got your back, we're in this together. This isn't about just getting a transaction, delivering like whatever.
Hmm.
It's I want to make sure that you're happy, your people are trained, everybody's on board. It's a synergistic kind of operation. So I love that quite a bit. Before we go on, I'd love for you to comment if there's anything there that you want to comment on.
No, well, specifically on that, is you nailed that point. We want to see how they are progressing with what we are doing, And because, again, we are not perfect, and maybe something we did is not working quite as we expected. So there might be changes, and we want to track that. We want to track that what we are doing is working for them. We have had clients before that ask us, hey, do you have a way to do this? And we may have from a past client like an idea of the workflow, but it may not work the same for this other client. So that's why we want to see how they are progressing with whatever work we do for them. And that's why we always start with the audit. Again, I sometimes I feel that I use words that may sound like I don't like the way that they sound. Audit systems. It may sound like it's a lot of work, but it's for me it's like a beautiful work. I really like doing all of that for my clients.
Love it. So in that case, what are you finding as the challenge towards realizing your next revenue milestone?
Okay, so there's a lot of challenges. The one in particular for me, being a Latina, is that I have deal with a lot of they're not client itself because I never got to work with them. That just because you are not like in North America, meaning US or Canada, I have to pay you less, and I don't know why. It has been a big challenge all these 7 years that I've been working on this. Is the one that have a major impact because it's not that I'm overcharging. Sometimes I feel that I don't charge as much as I should. Okay, but it's because I feel okay with that, and I find my clients and I build long-term relationships with them. But being from Latin America, living here, not being from Latin America, living here is and I'm not the only one that challenges with that. I have met people because aside from my virtual partner, we do some coaching for other people that want to go into being an OBM or a VA or want to work in this remote work. So they face that too. So I've been saying, okay, we have to work on something to help people like overcoming those no's. Okay. The other one could be a mindset work that, and again, it's a cultural thing, I guess. You can probably answer that for me. Being from Latin America, you have this kind of education around money that you are not worthy of all that money, so you shouldn't charge that much because you're being uh, like what would be the word? I know it in Spanish. I'm sorry, but it's like you cannot have that much. It's not possible. You have to live with what you need for like bare minimum, and that's it. And it was really hard at the beginning, like saying, no, this is the worth of my work, and this is what I should charge for my clients. One time I decided to, no, I'm not going to give any discounts at the beginning. I'm not going to offer any of that. At the beginning I was used to do that because I'm going to charge less. And then the clients, they didn't ask me any questions. They just pay and say, okay, when do we start? I need this by yesterday. When do we start? I'm like, this client actually paid. And it wasn't that much, honestly, but they actually paid. They didn't hesitate. And then I interview them. I always do like kind of a boarding interview, even though we will continue, just to know how the work went, how do they feel, because I want to know how they feel too about the work, if they feel overwhelmed, etc. And then they say, actually, you charged me. I hired you at the beginning because you were the least expensive offer, but then I saw your value in comparison to another person we work, and you charge way less to what they charge, and they did like half the work you did. I'm like, okay, thank you for sharing that with me. So kind of understanding from those clients that you know your worth, and that what you're offering and the final deliverable of your work, it's actually more than that, that's something refreshing. And you feel that confidence. Yes, I can do it. I can actually charge my clients what my work is worth, and then continue focusing on those clients, on the clients that are going to say yes to the work that I deliver because they know the value of it. I don't know, maybe you can guide me on that and share something there, but I think it's a cultural thing. I don't know if you have talked with anyone from Latin America that had shared that before.
So not in this specific context, but there are a few things that I would like to reflect back. So there was kind of a few things that you brought up here, right? So there is like the sentiment of like there's like an inherent expectation that just because you are in South America that you need to be charging less, right? Then there's the personal instance of, well, I don't know if I'm charging as much as I should be charging for the value and the work that I'm delivering. And then there is the kind of mindset pieces that may or may not be cultural, as far as like I'm not worthy of like having a lot of money, or it's like there's not really like room for excess. Like if I cover my bills, cool, but not a lot of room for extra. So before I continue, like does that resonate with you?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Out of all of those, which ones do you think is the most relevant for you right now?
I think the last one right now.
There's no room for excess.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So, well, okay, so I guess first things first, why do you think it's that one?
I don't know. I think that it's okay to be open to receive all this abundance, but then I feel that you need to have a purpose for that. What are you going to do with all of that? Are you going to save for and I want to clarify all those excess I have already like in my mind, and actually financially every month I have like a separate for my retirement, for health insurance, for my family, because I want to have kind of a backup. We never know what's going to happen with family and the if they need any kind of help. So that's what family is for. So we have something for that. And apart for like holidays or things like that. So what would I do with that extra? I need to have a purpose for that, because
Okay.
otherwise what is the reason of having all this extra like there and not doing something with that? And I have already, like I said already, have set apart for my health, for investing in the business, for investing in growth, in family, in everything. So what would I do with all of that? Because I don't know. I feel, and I don't know if it's correct, but you should have a purpose for what are you going to do with that? Are you going to help a foundation? I still have some issue trusting some foundations because of I see that most of them, for the ones that I have personally known, they have mismanaged the money. So I don't trust helping a foundation right now, for example. It's kind of the deal that I have right now with that.
Got it. So in this, okay, so I understand there's not really a room for excess. I'm okay with like if it comes in as long as it has a purpose. So just for me to clarify then, the items that you mentioned, like the health insurance, helping family, savings, retirement, you're already putting money into that.
Yes,
Okay,
that's already covered.
perfect. Is that for you considered excess or is that considered basic?
Right? I mean, in comparison to what specifically, because I can say that here, that's a real privilege. Like here in South America, just a matter of having a health insurance. I have an international health insurance. No one has that here. Like 1% of the population in my country who have that.
So
So
that's
that's that.
great, but the question was more for you. Like, forget the standard. That's fine. Your standard is better or worse than whatever standard. Like, it's better than
Okay,
the
for
South American
me,
standard. Maybe it's worse than another. Like, that's
no,
irrelevant.
for
But what about for you specifically?
I don't. I mean, if I get rid of the standard, then it shouldn't be, it should be like basic things you should have. So,
Okay. So, and let me just clarify the original question, right? So that sentiment of the savings, the health insurance, the retirement, et cetera, right? That is in comparison to the South American standard, quite rare. Great. But the question was for you, personally for you, in your experience, in your worldview, is that basic or is that extra?
okay, so it's hard to answer that. Yeah, it's extra. It should be basic. I feel good right now, like being able to cover all of that, to say, yes, I cover all of that. I feel okay. I know that I can do all these things, but I still feel that I have more extra than I should, and I don't feel okay with that. That's why the extras for me don't feel so good.
Okay. So then let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So when I fulfill these quote unquote extras that not everybody around me has, they're not really extras for me because we started this conversation by saying you can't really make room for extras. I don't have room for extra. But your actions and your results show that you're actually making a lot of room for extras in comparison to everybody else. But then when I ask you,
If
okay, do you
yeah,
consider that extra? You're like, well, kind of, maybe. But really, it just sounds like you're guilty about making room for that and having to give it a label of extra or standard. So before I continue, is that
uh,
accurate?
yes. Uh, I think it can be a long conversation, and again, it comes from when I was in college. So you learn. I studied business administration, so you learn all these things. You learn how to manage money, and you learn what are the things that you should have, that everyone should have. So for me, health, like having a house, having all the basic things covered, is basic. Okay. In That's why I said at the beginning, in what situation? Because in the situation of Latin America, that's an extra. And people will say, oh, she has all this money because they have this and they have that. Okay. So it's hard. It's hard to feel good about knowing that you're doing something good for yourself and for your family. But then that environment makes you feel bad because you have all these things. Okay. And then they expect that you cover their needs. And I will say, okay, but then will that be okay? They're not working for that. I will prefer like, okay, come work with me. I'll try it once, but they don't see the value on that. They were actually working. Okay, so I had to stop that. It was really hard. So that's why I don't feel so good with having these extras without having a purpose. Okay? Because then your close environment, and again, that's here in how it works in Latin America. Um, if you don't have a purpose for that, and people then will ask you, okay, help me cover my needs, you will find a way to do it. Come work with me, let's do this or let's do that. They don't actually see the value that all the work that I'm doing in order to earn all of that. And they
Right.
will take it very lightly. I don't know if it's
And
confusing, and just
no, it
let me know.
absolutely makes sense. And thank you for sharing because I know there's like layers to it, right? So the fact that
Yes.
you're illuminating all of them is helpful.
Um,
So what I would reflect back then is whose responsibility are other people's perceptions or needs?
it's theirs. It's not mine.
Okay, so I know you intellectually understand that, but do your actions and attitudes reflect that understanding?
As far as today, I do my best to do so. Um, I have I have even dedicated time, a lot of time that I cannot even count it right now, to help and educate and guide them to different things, because I have really close friends or families come to, okay, explain me how to do this or explain me how to do that. But I don't know how to say this, but I can talk probably more in these cases that I have had family or friends wanting to work with me because they want to cover their needs too.
So, well,
When
okay,
I
I would
say,
pause you right
yeah,
there.
mm,
Not because I don't like what you want to say is not relevant, more because I want to make sure that like your brain doesn't play tricks on you and gets you to talk about something else, right? Because the original question
mhm,
was like, whose responsibility are other people's like attitudes, narratives, and needs, right? And your brain went into talking about, well, how can I help them,
yeah,
right? You can help them with no responsibility towards their needs or narratives. You can just choose to help them. But if you are putting yourself in a position to help them, but really you're trying to cover their needs or appease and say, okay, I feel guilty because you have this different narrative. Now that's more on you than it is for them.
okay. And just to clarify that before we continue, okay, you got me thinking. So why should be on me to cover their needs?
Well, definitely, why should it be on you to cover their needs, right? And again, I'm not going into family dynamics or whatever. Like that's absolutely your choice. Like I want to make sure my people are covered. That's totally cool. What I'm more concerned about is prompting you and inviting you to consider how that lens, how that perspective, how that attitude is impacting the money that you allow yourself to have, right? Because if we rewind this back to kind of how we started this whole thing, it was, I'm not leaving any room for excess. But the reality is, in comparison to where you live, you have things that could be considered quite excessive, right? But it's like, I'm not gonna, like, I did the due diligence, I did the work, I got prepared, I took responsibility for my own stuff to set that standard as my basic, which is an amazing thing to do. Like, that's something you should be proud of. But the more you speak about it, it goes into this level of guilt. Oh, like I did this stuff, but other people don't. I actually feel guilty of it. So, like, no, 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 don't give me any more extra. I don't want to deal with the drama that comes along with the extra because I already have this, like, kind of extra, but kind of not. But it is my safety net. So, like, I'll do it. But, it's like so much energy is spent into this drama of what other people are going to think. And to
Mhm.
me, that guilt is the part that doesn't leave any room for more above and beyond that, like play money and, like enjoyment money, not like responsible, this is going into a bucket, that needs to be there kind of money. So before I continue, how does that land for you?
Okay, so I'm still thinking on the last part we talked, but I think the part of the guilt you nailed it, because it is true. I feel guilty when I do things that I know that my close circle cannot do. Okay, I do. I even have stopped deciding like I will go on vacations or things like that because I know how people will see it, so I don't do it. Okay. And again, that's why I feel, and you can correct me on this, that I need to have a purpose to, if I'm going to take more clients, I need to know where that money is going to go. Am I going to do something? Am I going to I even launched like an online course, and I hire people to help me do some things to help more people do what I do, because I want to like invest in something that I know is going to help other people. Uh, Not because I don't want to feel this guilt. I don't want to feel guilty of doing things, but because I say, okay, how can I help maybe, and again, this is a work I'm also doing with a therapist. How can I maybe change the way that I'm thinking and put myself in the other people position, but also how can they also see that it's not bad that you do all these things if you're going to help others, if you're going to invest in knowledge, if you're going to invest in other things. It's, I don't know, it could sound, I feel right now that it sounds confusing, but it's something I'm working on.
Absolutely. And I applaud you for doing it. What I would reflect back is your mind immediately goes to how can I do more things to help more people? And what I hear back is like, well, if I help more people realize these things and see the things that, like the opportunities that are ahead of them, then that relieves the guilt that I have for being in a position to have extra because I'm helping. So then it's okay.
No, I don't think it will release the guilt. That's
Okay.
something I have to work, and I have to, and actually I'm doing it. Um, I don't feel that's going to release. I know it's not going to release the guilt. It's something that comes from my close family, and it's a work I have to do with those members. But I don't know. I don't feel it's going to release that guilt.
Okay. Perfect. So even better than if it's not. So the guilt exists in reality or exists in you.
Exists in reality.
Okay. So that's interesting because
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about anything that you're doing
Why?
because I just don't feel guilty. I think you're poised to be in a great position to make as much money as you want. I don't see the point of that guilt. So does the guilt exist in reality and it's the same for everybody, or does it exist within you?
Okay, let me clarify what means for me, and maybe you can tell me if it really
Sure.
exists. And I will not take much time on this. Just the fact that when you, let's talk about real quick about that those vacations I stopped taking. When you are planning on that, there's obviously some logistics and you may need some help from family members. I have a dog and I cannot take it's a big, like 16 kilo dog, and I cannot take it everywhere. So I have to do some logistics and leave my dog with a family member I trust. Oh, you're going on vacation. Why you don't take me? You haven't taken me to a vacation. Or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. I'm like, in my mind, the first thought is like, I have worked for 15 years and I haven't taken a vacation in 15 years. I feel I deserve it because I
Right.
have worked hard. And now I want to take 10 days to rest. We can take a vacation after.
So
Okay,
just to
so
play
is
devil's
is
advocate
that
here.
is that guilt that they want me or me or my partner to put them in first priority? No, you have to take me first because I gave you life. I'm like, no.
Correct. And I can see where,
Yeah.
the layers and the complications come in. And it's
So
obviously
I
hard because
I
it's
don't
your
know
thing.
I don't know if I can say it is real the guilt because they make you feel like that.
Got it.
So that's why I will say yes, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So I think at the core of this is, do people make you feel anything or do you make yourself feel everything?
I try. It's complicated because I try not to. And again, all these extras for me, I know it puts me. in a privileged position, and I try
Okay, so
not
just
to,
pause right there, right?
yeah,
So, yeah, yes or no? Do people make you feel things, or do you feel things yourself?
they make me feel things.
Okay, so I think that's the first thing where you can begin to release the guilt. Because right now, the lens through which you're viewing the situation is circumstances, other people have a direct influence on my personal feelings. Like even the whole sentiment with the dog. What you can't like with the money that you make extra, you can't put the dog in a kennel. You can't pay somebody to live at your house for 10 days to take care of the dog, right? Like
Yeah,
those are options that
big
exist in reality. I understand it
here.
would create
Here it
like
doesn't work. Here in Venezuela, it doesn't work like in the US. I know I can hire someone to keep my dog here in my house. I cannot do that here because there's no one like something really good that you can trust. And I know because I have clients that I have done that for them in Canada and in the US. Those kind of services, they don't exist here. So here the only option is to leave your dog with a family member because of the pandemic. They don't, not every airline allows you to travel with your dog. So
mhm,
it's really it's not because I cannot pay for that. It's because it's complicated to travel with your dog right now.
100%. But like you could pay a friend.
I don't have friends here. All my friends are outside the country.
Okay,
Because we all, and we can talk about this in another conversation. We all left the country 5 years ago because of
got it.
whatever was happening here, and I just came back because this is my house and I needed to take care of my house.
Got it. Okay, so that's fine. That example might not lead to the point I was trying to make,
Yeah.
but
So
going back to the bit with the feelings, right? Like right now, your lens through which you view the world is people make me feel a certain way, right? As long as you hold that belief that I am not the one in charge of my feelings, circumstances influence my feelings. I'm not saying they don't. Like I'm believe me, this is easier said than done. So I just want to clear that part out. This is not an easy process, but it begins with opening up to the possibility that my feelings are my own responsibility and that nobody can make me feel anything. So the guilt that I feel isn't because somebody says, hey, you need to take me on vacation. That guilt is actually coming from the belief that, no, I should be doing something for them. It is that should that creates the feeling of the guilt. Like, who would you be if you didn't believe that you actually needed to take them on vacation?
okay, so that's a tricky one. I have to think about that. I don't think I will answer that right now.
And
Um,
perfect. So, and you don't
yeah.
have to. What I would want to reflect back is it's so much, it's that hard for your brain right now to imagine who you might be, how you might act, what you might do if this lens was cracked or non-existent, that you didn't have to take care of anybody, right? It's like it's hard for you to even imagine what that would be like, what that would feel like. That is to me a big indicator that so much of your day-to-day operation, the first thing you filter through is how am I going to be perceived, who's going to comment, what is this going to look like to other people, what conversation do I have to mitigate, right? It's been repeated so long that you can't even imagine who you would be with essentially proper boundaries, i.e., no, I deserve this. I'm going to go. Do you want to take care of the dog or not? Like that literally could be the end of the conversation. Or you should take me on vacation. No, like that's a complete sentence, right? And I know it sounds very like harsh, but you could say that respectfully, but it's like, I don't hear that part of you that's owning that that's even a possible reality.
Yeah. I have to reflect on that.
Okay. So how does all of that land for you right now?
it's something I have to reflect. It's not easy to change, and believe me, it's hard. It takes time because I'm open to learn all these things, and I can do the change myself. I I don't want to like anticipate. I know it will be hard when I start giving like these boundaries. So yeah, I have to prepare mentally for that. When I set like clear boundaries, I do it at work, I do it with clients, with everything, but it's hard to do it with family members and close friends. So yeah.
100%. And I don't want to discount how hard that
Yeah.
is, especially when it's like, and this is just like the opening up of it. It's like, I can't even imagine what life is like on the other side. So this is just like the beginning of it. So it's like, the beginning steps of a mountainous climb. So yeah, I want to acknowledge you that you're 100% right.
Mm.
And what I would just want to add to that is, while it is hard in this instance, you've actually already done this 7 years ago when you initially said, I'm going to quit, I'm going to do my own thing, right? You're just now taking it into an arena that is a bit different, and it's a bit more complicated because it's directly tied to your success. And I can see with this conversation, like, why am I only covering the like my current standard of basics? Because if I have more, it just means more problems. It just means more drama, more conversations, more saying no. I rather just stay at this level, and like I can manage this level of drama. But like, imagine you started making an
That
extra,
is true.
10,000 a month. You made an extra million this year. Like, it's going to be multiplied by a million, all of your problems,
Yeah.
right? So it's like this conversation, the opening up of it, and all of the processes that are going to be uncovered with it, they are going to open up the space for you to actually be able to allow more money into your life that doesn't have to go into a bucket, that doesn't have an explanation, that isn't rationalized, because I want it. Like that literally can be as simple as it is, right? But until that association with that extra money means extra drama, it's gonna be very hard to break it. Or even if you do break it, you're gonna do something, you're gonna pull it back down, right?
Like
So
rejecting clients and pushing them to another month.
correct, right? And
Uh,
every time you go to the next level, there's turbulence, even without all this additional drama. So, I'm not saying it's nothing you can't handle, but it's definitely going to be, a lot. So how does all of that land for you?
yeah, 100%. In terms of the dealing with the drama, it is true because when I work with my clients, I want to be at best for them. Like I give all my energy to them, and like even in the calls, they all leave the rooms all so excited because it's not the typical training I do with them. It's really energetic, and I involve them in everything, and I need to feel good when I'm doing that. I
Sure.
need to feel good when I'm working with the clients, when I'm delivering everything, when I'm writing like the audit report. Like my energy needs to be in the best place. And if I'm not good mentally, I cannot do it. And that's why I have situations like that comment. I need to push clients away another month because my mind cannot handle that right now. I know I'm not going to be 100% for them. And if they're coming to me and they're paying all this, they're being a VIP client, I need to provide that VIP service for them. So I
100%.
need
Yeah.
to be okay when I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's now a kind of a separate conversation where, like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
bleeding
Yeah, no,
out. I
it's
don't
not.
have leaky
Don't
buckets,
worry.
So yeah, that makes sense. But in terms of like this container for today, does this feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
No, I think you left me a few things to keep working in the work aside that I'm doing to to change a bit my mindset there. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you leave me a lot to think about.
Yeah, usually that's
Yeah.
kind of how this process works. So I
Yeah,
applaud you for,
I didn't expect all that.
well, I'm hoping it was a pleasant surprise in that case.
Yeah, no,
But
it's okay.
great. So thank you for diving into that, and going into those places. And if you could just summarize in your own words your realizations and highlights, and then kind of close us off with that.
Okay, so I don't want to make it more complicated than the session was. Uh, for me personally, it will be keep working on that cultural mindset that I'm in right now. That again, and you said it perfectly. I'm the responsible to the way that I'm feeling. I'm not responsible to how others feel, and it's not something easy to get rid of. So I I I have to keep working on that because it will affect on my work. It will affect on my clients, on everything that I deliver. Okay. So that would be like the main takeaway I have right now. I don't want to go deep into the other ones, uh, but it's to keep working on that.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is a super key one. That oftentimes it's the key one, but it takes a little while to
Yeah.
like sink in. But it's an important one. So kudos to you for that. And then just to close us off, you can tell everybody, who's the best person to find you, where can they find you? Floor is yours for all of that.
Okay, so it's complex. I just opened up my Instagram account again. I just closed it because of energy things. I couldn't deal with that. So the best place right now will be Twitter and LinkedIn. It's where I'm most active at. I will always be there. It's where I find my best clients and the best conversations and partners because I have found not just clients, but also people I partner with to help them also. They need like a specific help on something that they don't deliver, but they want their clients to do that. So we partner on that. So I find like that safe space in Twitter and LinkedIn at my virtual partner without the E at the end. I don't know, maybe I can probably share that with you uh, so you can write it down correctly. And through my email, barbara at myvirtualpartner.com. That's how you can also reach out to me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much. That was great. And yeah, we'll include all those links and stuff in the show notes. And for everybody else listening, thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.